One man, John D. Rockefeller, became so rich that his personal wealth was like 2.5% of America's entire country's money. Today, that would be like one person having more than $600 billion. He was the richest person in modern history, and he built his money from oil, a product everyone suddenly needed. John D. Rockefeller was not born rich. He came from a small town in New York in 1839. His father was a traveling salesman, often away from home, and sometimes he was tricky with money. His mother was a strict woman who taught him to work hard and save every penny. From a young age, John learned about money. He raised turkeys and sold them. He also dug up potatoes and sold them to neighbors. He kept a small book where he wrote down every dollar he earned and every cent he spent. This habit of tracking money stayed with him his whole life. When he was 16, he got his first real job as a bookkeeper in Cleveland, Ohio. He earned 50 cents a day. Even then, he saved his money. He learned how businesses worked by carefully watching the books. He saw how much things cost, how much they sold for, and where money was lost or made. This early training was important for his future. The big change came in 1859. That year, oil was found in Pennsylvania. People called it black gold. At first, many wanted to find oil wells, hoping to strike it rich like finding gold. But Rockefeller saw a different chance. He realized that finding oil was risky, like a gamble. But refining oil, turning the raw oil into useful products like kerosene for lamps, was a sure thing. Everyone would need kerosene. So he made a bold choice. In 1863, he invested his savings and borrowed money to open his first oil refinery in Cleveland. His partners were Maurice Clark and Samuel Andrews. He was not drilling for oil. He was making it useful. This was his first step into the oil world, and it showed his smart thinking. Focus on what is certain, not just what is exciting. Rockefeller's plan was simple but strong. Make oil cheaper and better than anyone else. He did this by being super efficient and cutting costs at every step. His refineries used the newest machines. He found ways to use every part of the raw oil, even the waste products, to make other things like lubricants and petroleum jelly. This meant less went to waste. He also bought his own team of experts, chemists and engineers, to find new ways to make oil refining better. Then he looked at how oil was moved. Railroads charged a lot of money to carry oil. Rockefeller went to the railroads and told them he could give them huge amounts of oil to carry if they gave him a special lower price, a rebate. The railroads agreed because they wanted his business. This made his costs even lower. He also started making his own wooden barrels to hold the oil instead of buying them. Later, he built his own pipelines to carry oil directly, avoiding the railroads completely. He bought forests to get the wood for barrels and even had his own ships to carry oil across lakes. He called his company Standard Oil because he wanted everyone to know his oil was always the same high quality. His goal was to control every part of the oil business, from the moment it left the ground to the moment it was sold to a customer. By 1870, Rockefeller's company, Standard Oil, was already very big, but he wanted more. He started buying up other oil refineries in Cleveland. He offered their owners two choices: sell their company to Standard Oil for a fair price, or try to compete with him and likely go out of business. Many chose to sell. Sometimes he even paid them with shares in Standard Oil, making them part of his growing empire. This was called the Cleveland Massacre because he bought 22 of the 26 refineries in Cleveland in just a few months. His tactics were tough. He would lower his prices so much that smaller companies could not compete. They would lose money trying to match him. Then he would buy them out. If they refused, he would sometimes cut off their supply of raw oil or stop the railroads from shipping their refined oil. By 1879, Standard Oil controlled 90% of all oil refining in the United States. It was a massive machine, moving oil from Pennsylvania to every corner of the country. He also set up a new way of organizing his many companies called a trust. This was a legal agreement where many companies put their stocks into one central board of trustees. This board, led by Rockefeller, could then control all these companies as one giant unit, even if they were in different states with different laws. This gave him incredible power over the entire oil market. But this huge success had a dark side. Standard Oil's control meant there was almost no competition. If you needed oil, you had to buy it from Standard Oil. If you wanted to start an oil business, it was very hard to succeed against Rockefeller's giant company. This made many people angry. Small businesses felt crushed. Workers often faced hard conditions. The public felt that Standard Oil had too much power and was hurting free trade. They called Rockefeller a robber baron, a rich person who got their money by unfair or mean methods. Newspaper writers, like a woman named Ida Tarbell, started writing stories about how Standard Oil operated. Her father's oil business had been pushed out by Rockefeller, so she knew the story well. She wrote a series of articles that showed the public how Rockefeller had used his power to build his empire. These articles made people even angrier. More and more people started asking the government to do something about this huge company that seemed to control everything. The anger grew, and so did the demand for change. People wanted the government to stop big companies like Standard Oil from having too much control. In 1890, the U.S. government passed a new law called the Sherman Antitrust Act. This law said that companies could not form trusts or agreements that stopped free competition. For years, the government tried to use this law against big companies, but it was hard. Finally, in 1906, the U.S. government filed a lawsuit against Standard Oil. They said the company was a monopoly and was breaking the law. It was a huge court case, lasting many years. Standard Oil fought back hard, saying they were just good at business and giving people cheaper oil, but the public and the government saw it differently. They believed Rockefeller had gained his power unfairly by crushing smaller businesses and stopping competition. Finally, in 1911, the highest court in the United States, the Supreme Court, made its decision. They ruled that Standard Oil was indeed an illegal monopoly and had to be broken up. This was a massive blow to Rockefeller's empire. Standard Oil was forced to split into 34 separate smaller companies. This breakup changed the oil industry forever, but even though Standard Oil was broken up, Rockefeller did not lose his money. He owned shares in all those 34 new companies. When they became separate, their total value actually went up, not down. So, he became even richer, at least on paper. Many of those smaller companies became the big oil companies we know today, like ExxonMobil, Chevron, and BP. John D. Rockefeller spent the last years of his life giving away huge amounts of money. He built universities, hospitals, and churches. He gave away more than $500 million, which today would be tens of billions. He lived to be 97 years old, dying in 1937. His life shows how one person's sharp business mind could change an entire industry and reshape the rules of competition.